In summer finals. It's time for the real sweetheart match, pretty much, as everyone has been putting it.
It's time for the grudge match, Gabby.
The grudge match.
Don't make two What's the phrase? Okay, I'm going to throw an idiom in there, but I've forgotten it. Maybe I should just throw the idiot out the casting desk at this point, but I don't think that it's the sweetheart match, but at the same point, folks, it's also really is the grudge match. This is the scrim partner match. This is the one where, sure, they have all this camaraderie behind them, but they want to go the distance.
Both very competitive, even though they're both also groups of nice guys, but then they want to win, right?
You put them in the realm and they turn into monsters.
Exactly. As soon as they go in the booth,
Absolutely.
just the smiles come
Something
off.
about all the fumes coming off the Doritos or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, all the energy drinks.
But the thing is, these are two very talented teams. When we talk about the PGS versus PPL teams, a lot of times we see this disparity, but these are two that have hung with the best really in the past.
Absolutely. We saw especially Burrito put on a stellar performance this most recent World Championship back in January. We also saw SpaceStation Gaming almost go the distance and fight their way through much of the bracket of the last LAN back in April, May, month of the year. Was May.
I got you.
April last year, the year before. I don't know how time works, folks, but Burrito Esports, these are the ones who came into that LAN as the favorites. I mean, they took Na'Vi the distance all the way to 7 games at the World Championship. Now, in the previous LAN in May, at the Spring Masters, they didn't go quite as successfully. In fact, they were knocked out very early on. SpaceStation really took up the mantle there instead, and I'm wondering if this has been the big question all along, if Burrito has been really rekindled by that, if they saw, wow, SpaceStation kind of came out and did what we couldn't, and did a lot more than we were able to, and especially with players like Akate on the team, who has been such a pinnacle of really this hit scan player, if that's kind of rekindled his energy to go, okay, well, we need to innovate, we need to find some new way of pulling out a new strategy, maybe we need to do some aim training here and there, and just work on communication to see if we can bring ourselves back to our former glory and exceed that.
He's been a very strong leader for the team. And hey, he made it into your All-Star draft during Esports Weekly. So
he did.
I would say he's pretty top-notch for his hit scan ability, the way that he thinks about the game in this very analytical manner. It's what allowed them to push so hard at the PWC and come back with full force.
Also, not afraid to take risks. You got to bear this in mind, the fact that Akate, when he goes into certain situations, we saw him at the World Championship playing this nutty Lian very frequently, where at times he'd just go, I got to go all in here. I just got to go in and commit and play the situation and try and come out on top. And more often than not, he would. And that was the remarkable thing that allowed them to stay in the bracket for so long. But Paladins is an ever-evolving game, folks. We have a very different matter evolving every LAN. Different balance patches bring new champions to the forefront. Sometimes no patches bring new champions to the forefront. Hello, goodbye, Ruckus. We like seeing you every few weeks when you are Flavor of the Month again.
Well, on the other side, we have SpaceStation Gaming, who everyone was really feeling going into the LAN. Then, as you said, they pushed a bit farther. And they even had this stint where Ares was not playing for them a little bit,
Which
and then
was
came
curious.
back.
I'm still not entirely 100% on what was going on there. Did you find out any more news about that, or is that kind of what they're keeping under wraps right now?
I've heard a couple things, so until I get a definitive
That's fair. We don't want to
anything.
propagate rumor here at all, folks. But one thing about SpaceStation is that I'm missing right now their coach. Monzi is not with them, and that's a bit of a critical thing. Monzi has been impactful with SpaceStation previously on helping out with the draft. Without him being in the booth with them, even though he's not much of a voice during the games as the coaches can't be on comms, at least he's able to kind of read what's going on and go, all right, this is what happened this game. Okay, well, let's adjust this. You need to calm down. You need to follow this person's instructions, or maybe we want to try different strategies. So now they're relying just on their individual framework of really the teamwork that they've built up over the past year or so to be able to let that carry them forwards instead.
And having a stable coach hasn't always been a staple as a scene, or the scene has been developing. We've been seeing it more and more, where they're being heavily involved in the draft process.
Absolutely.
So going from that to then not, we'll have to see how they adjust. But a couple of the players had some words to say earlier.
Here with Ares and Dyron from SpaceStation Gaming. Guys, last event, you were starting to get some respect around the building. People were starting to be a little bit scared of you. How has that changed your guys' approach, where you went from never winning a set at an international event to now you're coming in and all these teams from the PPL are starting to give you guys a lot of respect?
It's good for us, but also it's a bad thing because they're now preparing for us. Last time I think they didn't, because they didn't expect not much for us. So now it's not a surprise anymore, so we need to work on other things. But yeah, it's good to have respect on the building.
Now, I've gone up and asked, just a general question on Twitter, who do you guys think might be the next up-and-coming team to surprise? And you very quickly said SpaceStation all the way. So where is this confidence coming from? You guys feel like you've just gotten better over the last 3 months, or is there something you're bringing to the table that maybe no one is expecting?
Yeah, for sure. Like, when we came here last time, we had only Burrito to screen against and some BGS and 18s. And now after Masters, every PPL team was looking for us, asking for screens. So we haven't played a lot of G2 lately. So we are ready, and yeah, we learned a lot from them. So,
Dyron, what are the differences in preparing now that you guys have more scrims available to you? There are more teams reaching out to you, wanting to play you guys. Are you guys open to that? Are you wanting to play everyone, or are you trying to hold some of your strategies close to your chest?
No, I think when we are here, we can, for the first time, sometimes we can play against everyone with the same ping. When we're playing from Brazil, we're playing almost 200 pings, so it's kind of difficult to draft against them. We need to stop using some things because of the lag. And when we are here, we can try to put everything on the table sometimes to see if it's going to be right or not against some teams. But of course, we need to hide some things for the tournament.
You guys got Burrito first. Is there anything in particular that you might be worried about going into the Latin Americans?
I don't know. I think the whole team, it's a very strong team, and we know each other so well that it's not a positive way, but actually a negative, because they know everything that we can do, and we know everything that they can do at the same game. So we'll be the best teams win, actually.
All right, the battle for South America. Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
SSG and Burrito. Always a friendly face from them. They're in that pre-game portion, nice and relaxed.
And then we get into game, and it's a little bit more, or show me your war face and picture.
It's either war face or putting hearts and kissy faces to the other side.
Is it bad that I keep on seeing this matchup, and I know it's SpaceStation, but I see SSG and I go, it's sausage and Burrito?
I think you may be the only one.
I'm actually
that
just quite hungry
right
now, and I'm hungry to see how these players go ahead into this matchup. I mean, we've seen a little bit about what picks have been strong, what picks have been banned out so far. What is a continuation from the previous LAN in terms of, hey, ban Khan, which seems to be the flavor of the week so far right now. It's don't ban Furia, ban Khan. Khan is still very, very strong. But what else will come up? What will Latin America and Brazil bring to the table here? What are the differences that the overall South American region has from the rest of the world? What are the similarities which you might not expect?
Only one way to find out, so let's see where we're going for our first map. That's going to be Jaguar Falls, a very popular pick for a lot of people. Yeah, why do you think that they went with that one?
I've absolutely got no idea beyond we don't want to see it as a tiebreaker potentially because it is the quintessential 3-3 last team fight decides it all. So if they're brought right to the end, they just don't want to leave it up to more of a coin flip than anything else. But realistically, it's so rarely picked. If SpaceStation are that underconfident in their ability to go toe-to-toe with Burrito, I'm surprised they might not want to use that strategy themselves.
It could be something specifically from scrims that they've learned about the team as well, because they know each other to that degree.
And maybe there's that Ice Mine strategy which they have. They just don't want to deal with Furia the first ban, then Burrito respond with Cassie, take that away from the hands of SpaceStation Gaming. I'm looking at what will come and answer back now. SSG have a few options to them. Again, Khan, they are first pick, so they'll probably leave that open. Makoa might be taken off the table then as well in rebuttal. And what would expect Burrito to really go in then with a Khan ban here unless they feel confident in facing that, Gabby?
I want to see, now that the Khan has banned away, what strategy Burrito bring, because prior to, I guess towards the end of the last split, they've mostly been running the double front line, but one thing that we've witnessed in the PGS since that last LAN that didn't go very well for them, they've been flexing Sadak onto different flanks and other things for that triple DPS.
And they're not working out quite as well. So, Drogo is the first pickup for SpaceStation Gaming. First time we're seeing them through the draft in a little while here. Burrito can respond. Buck hasn't been banned actually. That's been a pretty common ban throughout the duration of today's games. Buck is available, Fernando is available. Here we go, there's a heart from Akade as well. Make sure that the crowd is loving it. And Lian actually drafted very early as well. Getting the hit scan pressure for Drogos is something which I think we can appreciate. Plays very well into what we know Burrito is good at, specifically with Akate most likely to be piloting that one.
And then on the side of SSG, you've got FRZ God.
At this point, you do pick the Buck, I think. For SSG, you go, all right, we got our main, we got our consistent burst damage, which is the oxymoron we talked about yesterday a lot, where you've got a lot of big damage coming in at very rapid intervals instead of just this trickle damage which some other carries provide. And Instead, you can have some finish potential now with Buck. You can grab some disruption here, but you might want to go ahead and draft some frontline early on as well. And if you're going to look for a Buck, do you want to synergize it with Genos potentially? A lot of different options do arise.
If you want to go for that support early, then you can lock in something like the Genos, but they're going for the frontliners. So Inara and Terminus, it's been a while since we've seen both of those on the same team.
Doubles to Gala coming through. Burrito in a bit of an awkward situation now because they might feel like they have to draft away the Maldamba. That's the support which synergizes most well with Inara and Terminus, but we can't forget about Pip, who hasn't really been played throughout the duration of today, but with the ability for your healing potion to do so much work, especially if you can throw up an impasse wall, break Cauterize, that's a lot of re-heal burst potential coming through there. So I feel like Burrito at this point, take away the Maldamba, strip the obvious choice, and then also look for a secondary source of anti-heal for these Tagala. You might be looking towards the Willow here more than anything else. Maybe a Tyra to push, but so far that hasn't been as successful in this tournament.
So Buck made it all the way through, meaning Burrito were able to grab that. Do you think that that's something SSG should have tried to prevent early on?
I would have liked to see a Buck instead of a Terminus at least here. I think that it just works better off with all of them, especially if they're going to be forced into a Genos pickup here, which is the other mainstay support that we're used to seeing. I don't expect SpaceStation to be going for something like a Grover here. Maybe again they might have a Flex Pit, but again I would expect it to be more of a secondary support for them. So again, primary Genos, Burrito on the other side of things. They're looking pretty good with their draft so far. They're looking confident.
Right.
They might pull out something like a Barrack last pick. If SpaceStation want to be able to respond here, they need to grab a source of, I think, direct damage that's good at dealing with Buck. Some anti-flank potential. Xin could be the one. Very tricky to lock down, actually, and could put a good amount of harassment onto Leon, which allows Drogos to have more of a free reign.
So Genos was the expected support to come out after Maldamba was locked in. Xin having that mobility to try and get to the backline as soon as possible.
This is a very Spring Masters composition out of SpaceStation.
It is true. Kind of, that's one of the discussions. Are people going to stick with some of the old school? And right now, Terminus actually hasn't really been a big talking point so far.
A big factor. I feel like a lot of that has to do with the fact that Dead Zone just shuts him down so well right now, but Ruckus is hollowed over for the last pick here, Gabby. Burrito don't have a great deal of damage right now. Leon is consistent chip damage. Buck is really your finish potential and your harassment, but Ruckus is the consistency which they'll be looking for here, and that could be very effective at dealing with Inara and Terminus, who for the most part, besides Power Siphon, haven't really got a way to remove themselves from Ruckus's damage.
Because even though Ruckus isn't as popular lately, he can still work. We saw G2, whether it was Cuss or Dose-Ups on that pick, they really used the Hexifier to their advantage and having a frontliner with that damage.
I feel like Ruckus has been a bit of a favorite for Burrito for a while as well. We've seen that in LANs previously. I'm excited to see what comes out again.
SSG versus Burrito, everybody. I know we're excited. I'm sure you are too. So let's go ahead and hop right into the action.
This is kind of the money match for me today, I have to say. These two Latin American beasts going at each other. Normally, we would see this later in the tournament, I think, but we get blessed with this match from the first round. It is just going to be that best of three, unfortunately. I'd love to watch this one in a best of 7.
I would have, too, to be completely honest, especially after how these teams performed against each other last LAN. The big confusing thing for me, and I think that the desk hit it on the head, this does feel like a spring lineup so far for SpaceStation. Terminus hasn't won a game yet this tournament, so interesting to have that priority so early in the draft for him.
I don't see anything on Burrito's lineup that screams I'm going to beat Terminus with this. So
that too.
We'll have to see how it ends up playing out here. These two teams know each other inside and out. I think for every weakness there is a strength to be brought up for both of these compositions. Specifically, I'm looking at FRZ God. He's got the first pick Drogos. He's got Fusillade. He's got to be big this game. And Sadak has got to watch his step because he's a big, fat, slow, easy target.
Yeah, and Hecate had precision lined up for his legendary before we got into game, which is definitely not the more traditional pick, but wants to get that constant DPS if he didn't end up locking that in.
It's a Hecate pick, baby.
Yeah, it's just constant firing is what he's looking for. And look at this, Sadak right into the backline, found Genos.
Hello.
That's an easy first blood.
I think FRZ God has got something to say, and this is what I was worried about. Sadak has to be so careful with this matchup. It is so easy for FRZ God just to connect a couple of directs, but it's too little too late. FRZ God gets pulled off the front lines trying to deal with Sadak. Sadak just runs away, and his team's killed all of SSG by the time he gets back.
It's a really good opening flank, just taking that Jagfall side on the left-hand side for Burrito and just finding his way into the backline. The rest of the pressure from Burrito was right up the gut, and everyone was looking at everything going through the middle, and that just left an open gap. Easily converted.
84% and climbing for Burrito. Midtow's trying to get there. The Billow will touch in time. FRZ trying to do his best to bring down the front line of Burrito Esports. Aries is going to be good, finding the tag onto just one. It's going to be a bloodbath death on the objective, but SSG come away with 2 for nothing.
Okay, I see you, but it is Aries falling down, but Rachao able to come right back, find Hassad Hawk, so now we've got SpaceStation lacking in numbers, but still with the big Terminus on the point, he's going to get some capture percentage back. Now Puliuli's coming into the fight, just trying to contest.
Trying to get a Shatterfall into the back line. The crush is going to be good on a Hecate. He pulls the kill, but Pule's already found 2 for his trouble. The overtime expiring yet again. That's the weakness, though. SpaceStation have to be on the point constantly. That Spite's not going to be good for a kill. Midtow doesn't get what he looks for.
But at the same point, it pushed all the way back that Damba, which allowed Sadok to get taken down by Aries, and now Fuzzy's looking for some cleanup around the middle of the point, but Rachao is still here, and that Power Siphon might be just enough to keep him alive, but the Buck Wild right in his face.
There it is. Power Siphon's able to absorb most of that. There it is, the quick 1-2 turnaround. Fuzzy hits the spray as he has the high ground as well. Laser focused. I can't get a read on my man's eyes right now. He's got his brim so low. He's fully blacked out. Fuzzy Logic is ready to assassinate some fools today.
He's up A-Town down with his old school Braves hat, rocking it. But to be honest, that was a really close fight. I mean, SpaceStation did pull that back very nicely. A couple of great plays. It just turned out to Fuzzy, saw the low HP support in the back line, able to take him down and then turn around and get the last little bit of shots he needed to clean up the point. It's just really good play from Fuzzy to commit.
I mean, he's 4-0 right now. There's no, direct pressure being put on this backline from Burrito Esports, and you have to remember back to the Masters Land how this matchup went. You remember on Frozen Guard where Crimson was like 0-8?
He was a farm.
It's all that SpaceStation were doing. We're just taking down the support. Burrito maybe have learned something, taken a page out of SSG's book. They go to that strategy, and it works well for them initially, as well as FRZ God. Very quiet in the first round.
Sadak putting up a very aggressive Hexafire, able to find down 1 and actually survives through the time and space. But Diren will eventually clean up Puliuli. Lightman coming out, not going to find the full kill. And now it's a chase for Diren as Fuzzy Logic reloads 1 more slug. That's all he needs to get that cartridge moving. And you can see all the red jerseys around the point looking to finalize this payload for a 2-0.
1:10 on the clock, and I swear to God, if these Buck players don't start reloading more than 1 shell at a time, I am going to pull what's left of my hair out of my head. I don't know why, but that just triggers me.
I remember that being a big talking point.
Because it takes longer to reload the first shell of every clip, and it's like I am going to choose to punish myself with the longest possible reload for these 3 shells that I need to get this kill. Wow. Anywho, 47% seconds on the clock left here as it looks like stabilization for SpaceStation Gaming. They pop a couple of ultimates here, and it's going to be worth it for them to hold the defense. They don't want to go down 2-0 early.
The Immortal came out early for Burrito, as well as the Dread Serpent appeal immediately afterwards for it, so it was 2 for 2 in the ultimate train. There is a reanimate available if needed, but again, you can see the charges on the right-hand side. It's just going to be Buck Wild ready to go, and I can't imagine he would use it, but as I say that, he does trigger it and comes right on through. I can't see where he's at. I don't think Fuzzy has got an angle on really anybody. He's got, now he's got Ares a little bit low. Hecate able to help clean that one up, and nice little flick shot into mid-out as well.
There it is, double kill. Fuzzy Logic getting plenty done in the backline. Finally goes down to Diren. The reanimate's going to come through. Crimson, what are you doing?
He mistriggered that slither very badly, and then through time and space right afterwards, it will be Diren falling, but again, Ares is back. The seismic crash able to clean up Sadhawk, and now Hecate is trying to find a way to get the damage done, which he does, but again, the respawn proximity looks to be too much, and Hecate just underneath 500 HP. I don't see him being able to contest, and he won't, although they do get the cleanup near the end, but Rachao was right there.
That was pretty close, yeah. Terminus was close by. And you got to say, that's a big, big mistake there from Crimson, not just the failure to backpedal out of range of the reanimate, a reanimate that he saw coming the entire time.
Yeah.
Very, very sloppy mistake there from Crimson.
You know, I was impressed last LAN with Aries, specifically when he was playing Khan in the front line. He had such good rotation, such good vision for where he needs to be to kind of fill in gaps and try to exploit gaps that are there in the defense. And he did that again throughout a lot of that point fight. One of the biggest reasons why SpaceStation was able to make a comeback and at least contest that first point to make it closer together, because it was looking pretty lopsided initially. I'm very excited to see how he positions himself throughout these initial capture points.
Top damage seized back by Hecate by a fair margin. I remember last time we checked in, Drogos was sitting somewhere around 45,000. Now he's only at 48, so a rough end to the round for FRC God. Carefully approaching this point. Togetherness, though, this time for both the point frontliners for SSG. No one's getting caught out this time.
And everyone trying to focus down that Hexafire, but Buck wants to push right through. Nice Void Grip right into the face of FRZ God, who's happy to feed up those shots, and now triggering the Dragon Punch. He's got one right on through, and it is Puliuli who does drop.
He's covered beautifully, perfectly by the Power Siphon, and almost bailed all the way out. Sadak will finally be able to laser him down. Sadak, he's good for 2. Akate finds 1, and despite that beautiful start for SSG, the 2-0, they end up losing that fight somehow.
The Genos falls early on and could not get any kind of healing into Drogo. Sadak with the good tracking, able to take him down, even though the Pyro Siphon was there for a lot of it. And then again, this is the laser focus of Sadak, and now the seismic crash coming out towards the point, but Ares is low.
Did he just wiggle that completely? Sadak breaks line of sight of the seismic crash. He'll be stunned out by the crush from the Shatterfall and Terminus, but there is nothing going the way of SSG. Absolute dominance from Burrito. 24 streak and a triple kill coming out of the backside of that fight.
The damage dealing power of Hecate and Fuzzy Logic has been absolutely insane to see. I mean, last LAN, I would say the weakest spot was the simple fact that Crimson had a couple of missed positions early on in fights, which cost them the objective. But here so far, with the exception of that really strange reanimate not triggering the Slither to get out of the way of it, he's been positioning himself rather well. And that longevity of life for the support has really initiated Burrito to get aggressive and stay on the point throughout long fights.
A 24 streak for the Leon player. Big problem for SSG. They got to find a way to take this down. But there's been no pressure from the Xin, and you'd have to imagine that it's somewhat of a good matchup for the Xin, especially with the Luminary. Genos being able to tag him up, but Akate has just, I guess, been doing such a good job sticking to his support and sticking to his front lines.
Although right there it was a really strange split as Sadhak and Akate were trying to go over towards the secret area on their left side respectively, and the rest of the team was kind of falling back because they were low. So not really a full committal to the tactical retreat. Ends up in 2 kills for the defense. A minute 20 left on the clock. About 75% of the way through the push. But they do have to regroup and come back at this.
You know Hecate had money to spend as well. He comes back through with the Cauterize 3, as well as the Nimble. Now leaping up to the high ground. Fuzzy Logic's going to pop his Buck Wild again, and I'm loving that more and more. Just chunk through this Inara. Nobody can stand up to the Buck Wild pressure. Double kill. Looking to make it a triple kill. A near miss will cost him his triple kill, but nonetheless, a teammate's going to pick it up. Akate finds the long distance pick. 50 seconds on the clock. Alan, it doesn't look like they're going to need it all.
Oh, no, they sure won't, as it looks like SSG will just let that one go through. Ares cleaned up for a little bit of frosting on the cake. But again, these plays from Hecate have been absolutely on fire. He just finds the right angle at the right time. You can see exactly how split up SSG is, and Hecate just knows exactly who to pick apart in what order. This Enlightenment, Leda, thanks for playing, almost find himself the quadra kill. Just really good positioning again from Hecate. He's just so smart about where he moves.
And you know, he doesn't pick up the death and taxes as every other Leon player has done so far in this tournament. But what he does do is get a Cauterize 3 online, and, you know, just a quick couple of rounds here too. 1.5, so to speak, but he's been having such an incredible game. It's kind of a risk-reward thing, right? You wouldn't be able to get this Cauterize 3 online so quickly
unless you got a 24 streak.
If you weren't having that type of day.
And he's running a very movement-heavy build as well. You can see the cooldown of Grace, the extra distance on the dash, and then as well the movement speed afterwards. He just wants to be very slippery. He wants to kind of use this as a flank. He's a very aggressive player. The spike comes out, but a really brilliant Dread Serpent right after the peel just away. Puliuli will fall, but again, here's Sadak trying to thread some, you know, headshots into the Terminus, not able to find quite enough. But Fuzzy Logic now chasing down Deeren. Again, here's your favorite a little bit. One cartridge at a time, but Fuzzy, again, he's able to survive through a lot of this. There's 3 players nearby, but Sadok's still hanging in.
This is not looking like the SSG we saw at the Masters LAN. Burrito are having their way with them at the moment. Fuzzy Logic is going too long, too deep, and too unpunished in this backline. He goes on this merry-go-round with chasing Deeren past teammates, and then they don't even really have any peel for him. They don't have anyone that can just put the hard stop on this Buck.
Well, it's hard, too, because look at their composition. They have no mobility in their front line. The Xin has had a losing record throughout the entirety of this LAN due to those, again, those nerfs that you guys were mentioning just before in the last game. And who's going to deal with them? It has to be FRZ God hitting incredible shots, which he typically will, as he comes right back around the waterfall just outside the torch room. But they are starting to give it a little bit of a comeback here. 97%, 99 now in overtime, but kills are trading back and forth still.
It's taken FRZ God so long to get involved on the objective. He's got so much tertiary threats to worry about. The Hexafire comes through. Is there enough Power Siphon juice? There is. SpaceStation Gaming finally answer back with the comeback mechanic in hand. They will get themselves on the offense and on the board.
But it's because of that capture boost, I think, that that point goes their way. I mean, a lot of that team fight, even after the initial one for the capture point was going the way of Burrito. They just had to come back and contest the point. It was the 6th man for SpaceStation there, and it ended up paying off.
2 minutes on the clock now. Ultimates to use for SpaceStation if they want it. There was a lot of great synergy between this Terminus and this Drogos that we saw early on. FRZ got getting his Dragon Punches out for free, as well as the Void Grips being good for some kills onto Fuzzy Logic to slow him down. Dyren might have to be his own peel, as much as that sucks to say. He's got to be on point with the Void Grips to just tee up this buck for someone else to kill.
Look at this committal, though, from the frontline combination of Burrito. It was both the Fernando, they just go in right together, and it opens the door for Fuzzy Logic to do just that. He jumps in, finds himself 2.5 essentially, as he got 2 assists off of the 1 kill he pulled just there. And my goodness, that committal call is incredible. It was just through the right-hand side by that face statue that you saw both the Nando and the Ruckus push through, and they looked like, where are you guys going? And then all of a sudden, it was Fuzzy and Akate on the left, and they just completely pincered through.
You know, I love that style. Fnatic has that style. SSG have that style. Anyone who's drafted Furia can have that style of just blind aggression almost. And it's like, it happens so fast that your enemies don't really have a time to call anything or try and put a defensive effort together, because it's just over before it even really has a chance to start. And when you look at that style and you say, you know, Na'Vi, Fnatic, typically a great set, and you look back to that team fight on Frog Isle when they popped the Furia ult and just went in, how brutal that was to watch. They made Na'Vi look like a last seed PGS team essentially in that fight. And it's like, that style has proven so incredibly useful for anyone who can pull it off.
Despite seismic crash and the through time and space does come through, SpaceStation setting themselves up for a potential push here, as they do have numbers, but again, the respawn proximity is right in front of this base for Burrito, and the payload is inching around its final turn, 20 seconds left. Couple ultimates for SpaceStation if they want to commit to this.
Front line creeping around. Puleole looking to get involved here and stop this payload from getting any closer. It's a game of inches at this point, Alan, and any slip up on the side of Burrito is going to be costly. It's a 3-4 for 1 Burrito Esports. Put up the brick wall, and it's not going to cost them a damn thing.
You know, SpaceStation, on the silver lining there is, you know, okay, we didn't spend any ultimates. It would have been great to get that through, but at least you can commit to the call of, all right, we didn't use ults. We'll be fine. It's 3-2. If we were to have used ults to get the point, we would be going in 3-3 with no ults for the final capture point. So not exactly the worst case ever for SpaceStation. It's not one that you'll go back and regret, at least not pulling the trigger on. So they just have to fight this one back. They're only going to get 3.5% on their capture boost, since they are just down 1 point for this next capture point.
Communication still happening here on the Burrito room, which is always a good sign here. When that stops, that is a terrible thing to have happen, as your team will quickly fall apart there after. A rough shake for the SpaceStation boys so far. 6-12 for Rashao, 3-12 for Mitau here. And granted, he was the last pick. Xin did just receive a nerf on top of falling out of what I like to think is kind of the flavor of the month category. Yeah. And he has really been struggling as a result when you compare his flank performance to Fuzzy Logic's.
I love this patience from SpaceStation. Look at this. I love it. They're waiting to see somebody, but Fuzzy is actually responding to it with some patience of his own, and they eventually have to go. You can't let Burrito sit on the point for too long. They will take that sunroom side with the torch right in front, Hexafire right over the middle, but not able to find much on the backside. Yeah, very good cancel.
3-2 here. SpaceStation have the time to give, Alan. They've got the half comeback mechanics, so they can afford to be patient. Here comes the Dragon Punch.
Find it.
Is anyone going to be able to find it?
What? What?
He went right over Fuzzy's head.
I'm honestly confused, because now Chow has to hit the reanimate, and there's nobody nearby, so now Burrito is in spot to punish, and there comes the Dread Surfer to start off this fight. It will be Puleole finding one and surviving. Beyond it, here comes Fuzzy Logic in the back line. Mido has to touch. I'm so confused by what that was from SpaceStation.
Me too. I'm racking my brain, and I am coming up empty-handed here. I don't know. Maybe he was so worried about getting picked there after the fact that he figured retaining my life would have been more useful than trading out 1-for-1 there, but not even that can be said. I mean, he flew right over Fuzzy's head and then died a couple of seconds later anyway.
Yeah, definitely a big mistake there. SpaceStation definitely had an opportunity. If you take Fuzzy off the table, then you can fight on that more centralized non-mobility comp that you have. You don't have to worry about someone getting in the back line. You can just fight on point, which is where you want to be. So Yeah, it's not a frontline target, which generally speaking, as if you play Drogos, you're always looking for a big body. But in that instance, Buck is a priority target, I would say.
Damn near. Damn near frontline.
Well, and he's a big body.
In my opinion. And I don't know whose map pick that was. I'd love to get that info from production at some point. But this is a best-of-3 set. So if Burrito are winning on SSG's map pick like that, they get to go to their map pick and probably put this set away in 2 quick games. They're noticeably feeling pumped up. You can see on their player cams, in their room cam as well, that they are feeling good about that, and that was SpaceStation's pick. So in a best-of-3, I don't know. I'm all in on Burrito at this point. They're looking pumped. They're looking good. They're feeling good. Let's head it back to the desk so we can get this set on through.
What a game. Both teams playing well, but those slash lines on the side of Burrito were insane.
Those are pretty spicy. I mean, we're talking putting some extra chilies in that burrito right there.
21-5, 23 going into that last point.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that for Akate. And looking back at previous lands, ignoring the most recent one, the Spring Masters, the World Championship, when Burrito on the line with Na'Vi, this is one of the maps, Jag Falls, in which Akate took Lian and was the sole reason that Burrito won. We're seeing this kind of performance again. This time around, though, looking a lot more comfortable, Gabby, with a lot more support from the rest of the team. Overall, a few interesting decisions from SpaceStation, though, during that last round specifically, the Burrito were able to very much capitalize on. Especially that Dragon Punch, which the casters remarked on towards the end of the round, but just good positioning through and through and great target focus.
The fact that they're ready to respond to anything like that.
Well, we saw Terminus lose, like half of their health after reanimate in half a second or so. It just proves that they're ready and waiting, fingers on the button at any point in time.
And when you see those moments, I believe it was after round 1, and Fuzzy Logic was just outside the spawn doors. You're not even trying to hide yourself or anything. You've just pressured so much with the rest of your team that you're ready to shoot anybody that appears. And even if you get punched for a moment with the Dragon Punch coming into your face as it did earlier on, just the easy pickup. And it's all smiles on Burrito right now.
They've got a lot of energy coming through. And as we heard, that was SpaceStation's map pick coming into this set. So Burrito, they now get to take the fight where they want to have it. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe like a Stone Keep come out, something which Burrito has had a bit of a reputation for previously, but I think the SpaceStation needs to do some adjustments in the draft. I think they got to take away that Lian.
And maybe the fact that they early on decided to take the Inara and Terminus in tandem, there could have been a bit more of a shakeup.
Maybe. I think a Barrack might have been able to box out a little bit better than the Terminus right there. Terminus did some work, certainly, and Crush as the talent for the stun certainly had an impact there, but less damage potential than I think you needed when there was so much being thrown at you by Burrito.
And with the best 3, like you said, could be closed out in 2 games. Burrito, they are on fire right now. They've made so many improvements and changes
since the last time. Well, something at a fire extinguisher, that's not up to health and safety specs.
Yeah, well, at least we got one in here.
Got plenty around in here. No,
we can run, been working on the sprint.
All right,
get fast enough.
Take the mic dust, get some handholds. Just don't mind the sound in the background, folks. But it is Serpent Beach, the nighttime map where we'll be heading for the second map of this series. Burrito, first pick, first ban here. Let's take it with the Cassie. Okay.
Solid. I went with that last time as well, just to get that neutral pick off the table. Khan going away a little earlier this time, and I think he's just going to stay in that territory, either banned or picked.
At this point, it feels like unless you're forced into a very weird situation with specific champion bans for specific players, Khan is your default, like, all right, second team just bans Khan because they don't want to face it, especially on a map with environmental hazards, although, as we saw, it's not even necessary. We can just hoist somebody up and have them focus down very quickly.
One thing that happened in the last draft as well, Buck didn't get banned, and he made it so far into the draft where Burrito were able to pick him up, not even as a first priority.
It's a very interesting one because Buck has this sort of reputation for causing great impacts in a lot of different fights and a lot of situations, but the reputation isn't always backed up by actual execution. We're not always seeing these Buck players really come out and slam, but Burrito, they're going to take that one away, recognizing that they're probably going to prioritize the Drogos or something here if it is available for them first pick once again. Freeze Guard was doing a good job with that. For SpaceStation, I'd like to see that stripped away here. Gotta remember that picks like Fernando are also on the table here. Makoa banned away as well, so double frontline bans for SpaceStation. I would 100% expect this Drogos to be going very quickly the way of Burrito right now. Then they have to be careful of maybe a Nando Lian in response.
I could see Burrito, well, they're bringing Fury out now that that's not banned away, so Crimson navigating that one, which I'm very excited to see.
It's interesting as well because this is a heavy prioritization on Furia that we haven't seen typically in the PPL regions, but a lot of the PGS regions are still sitting on there. It makes me wonder, like, is this value put on Furia something that they have because they don't know how to deal with it, or is, as we've heard, for example, Kanga say, no, Furia is just, she's, to quote them, OP.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the mentality is in going with that pick early, because she was getting through early on yesterday where she wasn't getting banned away, but she was going in the middle.
So I think that teams want to secure a composition which is supported by Furia before they secure Furia herself, right? They know that we can flex to play against her under certain circumstances, but if we want her to exceed or excel, we need a specific composition, especially with high health pools. So Cherish, that talent which heals you extra based on your maximum total health, will really do some more work. Inara is perfect for this. For example, Bomb King as well, potentially up to 2400 HP, also helps supplement very, very consistently with Furia.
You can get bursted up so quickly onto something with a big old pool like Inara's got for her HP. It's really nice when you can see that all the way back to blue.
So, SpaceStation to respond here. They got some innate anti-heal coming on. Notably, no Drogos just yet, and with Burrito not prioritizing that, it does make you wonder if SpaceStation will go, well, we've got the Lian, we've got one of the big counters here. Let's bring a Blaster on board. We already know how devastating Freeze God is with that. With Burrito not taking the Bomb King, they're unlikely to go Bomb King and Drogos here.
Right.
They could save it for a later pick, or they could leave their last one open for maybe a frontline flex if they really so wish to have that.
I honestly don't see Burrito pick up Drogos all that often, so the fact that they didn't go with him early on, it kind of, I think it's more of a team thing, where I think they could if they wanted to, but they have other things they prefer. And then lending the Drogos over to SSG, perhaps they're not as scared of it. They respect it, but don't fear it.
Potentially. Behold the Dragon's Fury. Not so much after that last Dragon Punch there. SpaceStation have a chance to turn it around here. Burrito, right now, they have Fury as their primary hit scan threat versus the Drogos. I'm looking for more, maybe some flank pressure coming through here. Ruckus will certainly help with that. And a Strix.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've seen snipers on
It's been a while since we've seen Hecate play a sniper.
But it's always a great time.
It is an experience.
Oh, yes. If you have not gotten to do it yet and you're watching this.
Well, and look at the draft as well that SpaceStation are fighting into them. They have to either go aggro frontline here, maybe an Ashe or something, to be able to fight towards Burrito's backline and pressure the Strix out. Or they have to go solo frontline and a flank. And if you're running solo Fernando, that's not where Fernando's most comfortable, facing up against an Inara and a Ruckus. You're very easily focused down, your shield will be taken out very quickly, and you will be in a lot of trouble. So I feel like it has to be maybe the Barrack or maybe the Ashe here. Terminus, not successful last game. When you're fighting up against the Strix, I'm not expecting that to be the priority pick here.
It looks like their draft was working towards double frontline, and now they're worried about how they should approach it.
How do we deal with this? We know that Eevee's probably not going to be played at LAN due to certain issues we have right now. Maeve might be an opportunity maybe, but it will be the Barrack.
That's if you're going and you know that you're going against the Strix, but you don't want to go double frontline because that's not what you were preparing your draft for, then pick up someone that can be aggressive and try to bully out a little bit.
And I do like the opportunity to have two defensive frontline ultimates in terms of Immortal and Dome Shield to ward off some aggression maybe coming from Inflame. If Fury hits the gas pedal and everybody goes in at once, everybody tries to commit, then you can pop a 20,000 health shield and, you know, like absorb an entire Hexafire. You have Immortal if you want to enable your Dragon Punch. You've got a lot of flexibility, but it's ultimate dependent for SpaceStation, whereas Burrito, they just get to stand there and press left mouse button to win.
Burrito have the chance to knock SSG down to the lower portion of the bracket. I want to see how it shakes out.
Time to potentially figure that out here. We've got a best of 3 with Burrito leading 1-0, looking really, really strong. Any holes in the draft that you're seeing that might prevent them from taking this?
I don't see any holes here. It really comes down to, for Burrito, their win condition, can Bomb King have some freedom and will Strix hit shots? You have Hecate playing Strix. He's going to hit shots. And you've got Fuzzy playing Bomb King. He's going to get the job done. This is a tall task for SpaceStation. I will say my hopes are not nearly as high as the Rocket Sword typically is.
Fuzzy, I will say, Bomb King is not a very typical pick for him. So that's something that SSG can look to use a little bit off. Midtow was dead silent last game. So if he comes alive in any form or fashion, it's going to be a much better look for them. As well as, again, FRZ God is going to have a little bit more room to fly in this map, and hopefully Ruckus won't be as big of an issue as such.
Yeah, well, it is Sadhak on there, and, well, he's really good at it as he starts to chip down Daddy Barrack initially. We'll back up immediately, and now it's going to be passing the baton over to Hecate, who hits 2 nice quick scopes, and that's the power of Hecate on a scope.
It's about on Strix knowing where the center of that dot is going to be before it even really appears. The spectator can't keep up. Normal human brains can't keep up, so we didn't even bother to show you. FRZ God is going to find the first pick of this engagement. Inara, quick work is made of her as Fuselage Drogos. Though Combustible, the most popular pick of this tournament,
yeah.
FRZ God has been making it work. Hecate, despite, Death and Taxes being the most popular pick, has picked Precision and made it work.
Yeah, well, at the same point, there's no shields to break, so you don't have to really worry about going into Wrecker as Leon in that last game, so the Cauterize and going into Precision makes sense. And now Sadak getting a little bit of trouble. He's got to put himself right in that waterfall. And good heal comes out, but he still gets chipped down. FRZ got with a little bit of a fadeaway, but still Crimson able to trade up a little support on support crime there as Diren falls as well. And now FRZ he's gotten absolutely nowhere to go. Somehow survives that Royal Subjects AoE splash.
You have to be so careful with Furia early game. It's so easy to get baited into thinking a kill is basically wrapped up, and before you know it, they've juiced up not only 1,500 HP, but probably 500 shield on top of that as well.
Look at this. It's just funneling in. A nice impasse wall to block things away for the side of Burrito. And it's just Sadhak on this with this sundial side, and Hecate saying, don't even try it against me. I could have sworn, for a second I thought that was a yawn coming out of his mouth, but it was a scream.
Everybody falling asleep here now. Hecate's helping them into bed, as he's hit just about every shot I think we've seen on camera thus far. 2-0, 3-0. Some of the slash lines Burrito currently sporting as they go ahead and move forward on their first offense. The jingle bells are tingling, and Ares is going to die as a result.
And this is going to be the tough part, I think, for Burrito, getting through this element simply because Hecate does not have any vertical mobility like a Canessa would to get on the high ground. He has to kind of sit in the background and hope that someone peeks. So if you're SpaceStation, you need to get the high ground under control, know that you have the advantage up there, and just stay out of line of sight from Hecate. Mido just learned that lesson the hard way as he gets fallen.
There it is, and now the kills starting to fall, and now look at how deep Sadak's managed to ride on his horse to the enemy back line, but catching a couple of big toes here. Fuzzy Logic gets his toenails clipped by Diren, goes down. Hecate and FRZ God both finding kills, 1 for 1. We'll even up the score.
FRZ God, he needs to be able to rotate back and get some damage done. That's perfect. He needs to get those salvo Spitfires right into the front liner when they are kind of separated away from those damage dealers and supports. It was just a little bit late in the rotation, but he still punishes. It ends up in a stagger, which is good. But now it comes down to, can they continue to hold that pressure? You can see Mido is actually struggling for a place to stand simply because of that scope from Hecate. It can come out of nowhere. He's going to have to be playing very, very passively in this back kind of oasis area.
Hecate's been looking really good, as has Sadak. He's been fearless when it comes to just diving the backline. Sadak is going to pull a pick out of thin air to give new life to this offense for Burrito.
And look at this, both frontliners just holding down the front. Going to dive right into the dome shield as well, saying, bring it on. Sadak falling low, but another huge heal on the back end of it. It will finally be FRZ God getting the kill, but it's set up Hecate to get this angle. If he can get through this shield, he might find a lot of devastation. But again, this was the weird thing that I saw early, was the fact that it was Fuzzy Logic picking up Cauterize and not Wrecker on the Bomb King. So it's going to come down to Puliuli. He's the only one who's got the Wrecker in hand. It's going to be a lot of Stone Spear shots to take down both the Barricade and the Fernando shield.
It is an interesting thing to note here. And, Genos, healing is great. Don't get me wrong. But they want to be able to win these 1v1s. That's the only real reason I can think of why they want to go. The way that they're taking these fights, Sadak diving in, looking for his 1v1s. Hecate, he wants to be able to get these Cauterizes applied from long distance. Fuzzy as well. Very skirmishy here in the first couple of rounds for Burrito Esports.
Good Fire Spit salvo combo from FRZ God. Again, just holding on the high ground. You can see, but Mido is like, he's hugging this pillar. And he's still getting beat up over here. He just doesn't have very good angles. He does find Hecate, which is a good pick, and now FRZ God rotating back through the middle, able to find another as, nice little angle there as he's able to help clean up 3.
Yeah.
Really good play from FRZ God to know where his advantage is, and then one more just to send them back the round considering their positioning.
Sadak definitely stepping up big in that round. He's able to find a lot of kills just on his own volition, and that's exactly what you need from your off-tank, this fearlessness and this reputation for Ruckus. He's one of the last off-tanks really still playing Ruckus. And it starts to raise the question as to why, because it sure looks damn good when he does it.
It goes back to just that synergy that they have together in the front line. Sadhak and Puliuli have been great at, again, those committal calls, knowing when they can get those flanks. And he was in that sundial area for free the majority of the back half of that first point. Even in that push, you saw him coming through that little ruined area on the left-hand side prospectively for them, and he had a couple of nice shots that just chewed apart his opponents, and that's what you want to see. He's going to do it right again.
Keeping a lid on FRZ God is going to be important, as well as I'm curious to see the impact of Furious Healing come through as Cauterize 2s and eventually 3s start to get online here. Those massive 1,500. Did something stun him? What was that?
I have no idea.
Why did he just drop to the ground? He had to have gotten clipped by a Pyre Strike or something.
I didn't see it, but regardless, Puliuli, oh, nice play there from Middow, able to find himself a second, a triple! Oh, the Grace, able to pick up one. I don't even know if he saw Fuzzy Logic overhead.
He didn't mean to.
But regardless, a nice play from Middow, able to get in, get out, and find 3.
We call it the oopsie tripsies now, and Puliuli is going to try and fall back the Immortal just to make sure FRZ God gets out. Hexafire comes through in response. It's enough to take down Rochelle. Plenty of room to work with on the objective as well. Burrito would really like to bail out Sadak here, and they will.
FRZ God has got himself a cheeky little flank on the right-hand side. If you're Hekate, you got to be careful. One direct shot. The Spitfire won't connect, but he'll fade on back to help out with this little push coming over the middle of the map. And it's Sadak falling low, but another great heal coming out now. FRZ God's the one in trouble, and he's got to retreat by moving forward.
Just played the map absolutely beautiful there. That's really the only reason he's able to survive. That's a veteran Drogos player, knowing exactly the legs he's got to get himself around. Sadak, he picks up another one. The shield's going to go up from Fernando, but this Inara built a wrecker, and she chunks that shield down post-haste.
Post-haste.
He thought you were casting with pretty hair, but in reality, it was Vox all alone.
Middow working his way back. It was 96% and counting up for Burrito. Can anyone get there? It looks like the overtime will trigger. The impasse wall is well placed. FRZ got a little pirouette midair.
Wow.
Not going to be enough to get through the inflamed damage of Sadhawk, who wants to finish this one off. It's just down to Middow and Rashao, who is low, and both of them will likely fall here in just a hot second, which will put it down to 2-1 in favor of Burrito.
Shift, it's these health bars just barely skirting out. Burrito Esports, 3 people make it out with less than 10% HP in that fight, and that is a surefire way to lose a team fight in a match that is going to be as competitive as SpaceStation versus Burrito.
And again, it comes down to this stretch. Can Hekate find the shots to keep people off the high ground, off of that bridge? Oh, a headshot will do nicely against Ares. Enlightenment comes out to find Fuzzy Logic on the flip side, and actually Puliuli in a little bit of trouble up in the high ground as well, but a nice Pyre Strike to find a little mini stun. And with that little bit of an impasse and Warder's Field placement up top, she will escape with her life, does the Inara.
See if it's enough to break this corner here. Things falling a little bit quiet as the unstoppable force begins to meet the immovable object here on the defense. It's going to take a result. Someone's got to die, I think, for this payload to really make any significant distance one way or the other. That Grumpy Bomb is going to be good for a stun. Maybe that's what it was. It had to have been a Grumpy Bomb. I mean, something somewhere connected for a stun way earlier in the round, if you guys remember. And that actually had big implications. Losing FRZ God at any point is not going to be good for SpaceStation. Losing Ares under a dome shield shift might be worse.
Yeah, this is looking like it could potentially be a 3-1 because it is a staggered FRZ God. Who's going to be able to touch? It looks like nobody as Crimson finds 2 final kills. A 3-1 lead and no ultimates expended besides a flashbang earlier on in that round. And Hekate is sitting at 6-5 and 14. Even though we haven't seen him much in the kill feed, the kill participation is up there.
You know, you got to talk about just the mentality of these two teams. Obviously, SSG getting the better end of the stick last time they met against Burrito, and Burrito just looking defeated. Hekate says his hands were bothering him, some joint pain he had. You know, just the mentality, it just wasn't there that day for Burrito. I don't know if it's a change in strategy, because they're still doing their things, Alan. They're still getting the same picks. They're still pulling the same style of the same things they've been doing all along.
And that's what I like to see from Burrito, because that's what makes them them. The simple fact that they have a play style, they commit to it. And that's the thing about it. You know, we judge teams so heavily on one appearance. How often do you get in game, you just have a bad day? That very well could have been the case throughout that last line. It just set him up poorly. And now Hekate with a big shot and not able to quite finish off and switches to the pistol. And FRZ God is saying this game is not over yet as he finds 3.
There it is. He's looking for more as well, but Sadak's going to cut that streak short. He's inflamed, but Sadak is only able to come away with 1 kill. Midtow will take the 4th for SSG. Comeback mechanic enabled. They're going to set a blistering pace here north of 40% as they look for their first capture of the game.
And now, yeah, Midow's got to get a little aggressive here, I think, just to find the dismounts and get some early poke, but he disgraces himself right into a Grumpy Bomb, which will find the kill, and now it's King Bomb coming out for Fuzzy Logic.
There it is, and there's another stun there in the back line, looking like beautiful setup on the both frontliners and Drogos. Fuzzy Logic finds all 3.
Wow, what an incredible play. Hits it at the very last bit of that channel, and Sadak is right there to help out. Again, that committal, he gains space for Fuzzy Logic by having that advance in Ruckus move forward. Everyone's looking at Ruckus. Fuzzy comes up at the exact right time, helps be a part of that 4 kills.
There it is, 99% and climbing. Burrito Esports put their foot down and claim back-to-back victories over their Latin American rivals, moving themselves forward on in the winner's bracket. Group hug all around. These guys know and love each other for quite some time now. A very long-standing roster, a well-deserved victory. SSG, though, not out of it yet. They'll move down to the loser's bracket on their second and final life.
Not at all. It's just, for me, this is not the same look that SpaceStation had 3 months ago. They've impressed me to literally the Earth's edge when it came to their ability to combine ultimates, to get that synergy online, find that maximum efficiency. And at this point, it kind of felt like FRZ was just trying to pull the whole team behind them. Like, come on, guys, we got to keep going. They didn't look like they were in their same frame of mind that they were back in the spring.
Right. I got to say, it feels like, you talk about chicken or the egg, good day for them or bad day for them. It felt like a good game from Burrito for me. That was really a return to form. And to be honest, what we expected, that performance they have at the World Championship, they come to Masters Land. We're expecting them to beat SSG, who had never won an international setup until that point. So they're able to take back that kind of return to form and put SSG into the loser's bracket. And now they will move on. That's going to do it for us in the casting booth, though. From this set, we're going to send it over back to the desk.
Since the last land, Burrito's come back. They've dusted things off a little bit, shaking it out.
Is they're going to channeling the John Wick, I think. Can we get them in suits at some point as well so they can pull up that potential even more so? But oh my goodness, what a turnaround we have seen so far this event. And definitely not exactly distance games, right? They weren't sweeps by any mean. The scorelines in the latter one, sure, it didn't go the way of SpaceStation, but they certainly put an amazing fight. FRZ got finding a lot, for example. Burrito just came out swinging again and again and again. Sadak and Ruckus throughout both of those games has been incredibly impressive, and that's one thing. When we saw that Ruckus pick come through, it's like, okay, this is, I remember this. I'm getting some vibes back to Paladins World Championship.
Yeah, and he's one of the players I had my eyes on most going into this land because of the fact that they've been switching up what he's been playing, but then you can still go to these picks like this Ruckus, and he makes it look so easy, like as if Ruckus just shouldn't be leaving the drafts, even though, there's obvious things that not going to work with, but here, just nice and seamless, and the synergy that he and Puleule have together as a unit for the front line.
An absolute unit.
They move in tandem. They are very responsive to not just each other, but the situation at hand, where you don't want to have to be babying anyone on your team, right? Everyone has such initiative on Burrito.
And also, it's partially just the fact that throughout the duration of that game, Sadak had amazing positioning that just went unchecked. A lot of things really should have been picked up there, it felt like, but because the rest of the team was applying a lot of pressure because they were so wary of Strix throughout that Surf and Beach game, much of SpaceStation was funneled into an area where Sadak just sat there and go, okay, well, I'm just gonna hose bullets at you for a while. You thought Koga was a bullet hose, folks. Well, don't forget about old Ruckus here.
And then on the opposite, you mentioned there was the triple kill from FRZ God. You had the triple kill from Metal on the Leon. So these isolated individual moments that came out of SSG where they looked like they were starting to get it in line, and then Burrito says, oh, we're just going to team wipe you right now.
I do have to say, I'm reminded a little bit of a Twitch chat copy pasta with that Leon kill where the Grace got the last final hit on that without, I think, looking at it, which is me Leon, me free, me steal kills with RMB. It's one of those situations where, hey, not to take anything away from it, it was an incredibly clutch situation, a really reactive enlightenment. Mittel on this Leon was scary throughout the duration as well, really knew when to turn up the heat, it looked like.
It was a very pretty play to watch, too. Shoot you this way, Grace to the opposite side,
with
and
presence and grace and
back. Yeah. She has all those just very elegant words.
Absolutely.
So it worked out that it looked just as great. But now we have some things to hear from the men of Burrito. Let's go ahead.
Well, Burrito boys, here and ready to go. The battle for South America goes your way this time to start things off. First and foremost, I got to ask you guys, you're one of the only teams that goes in and loves to play the Ruckus. Obviously, we just saw why. Tell us more about why Ruckus is such a staple of the comps you guys play.
Well, I mean, it's too strong for us, right? Because mainly, if you are let alone with Ruckus, you just do free damage. You saw, right? No one could really stop me. So yeah, maybe mainly that.
It looks really good, but I think the key point here is how do you play Ruckus into Fuselage Drogos? Because that is not easy when you're such a big, easy target. If you were going to teach someone how to do that, what are the key points when playing against a Fuselage Drogos like FRZ God?
I mean, you just have to miss the rockets, right? To evade the rockets. Mainly that. just put the pressure when you know Dragos isn't focusing you, and that's all.
So that was a pretty dominant showing overall. Did you guys expect that to go that way? Because these are your scrim partners. You know each other inside and out. But it felt like you guys just were having your way. Wherever you wanted to be, wherever you wanted to go, that's where you would end up.
It's always really tough to play against them. As you said before, there's our scrim partner. We respect them a lot. And on the last LAN, they were stomping us. So for this LAN, we prepared so hard. We studied them a lot. The last 2 weeks, we didn't scrim them, and they couldn't play for different problems. But basically, we were so prepared for these matches, these maps, these picks. Even if we were first pick or second pick, like we were doing like since 1 month the work for studying them. You know, like we take every single possibilities and what they are going to pick, since they are on a screen partner. Like they did on the last LAN, we did exactly the same. And for example, you will say about the Rukus, how he can dodge a visual Dragos, right? So basically, of course, it is hard to evade them, but if your team give you the space for the Rukus to play freely, because that's the key. It's not only just evading them. We were doing that compensation for that.
Yeah. And this time around, you guys have Swindy behind you to kind of help out. How much of a help has it been to have him kind of in the comms with you?
I mean, actually quite helpful. Yeah, he helps a lot in the drafting phase, right? So so he basically says, don't screw this up, basically.
Basically he said that. You have the perfect draft, don't screw it up.
Basically.
Words of wisdom. Well, congratulations on winning South America, but you've got the rest of the world still to take on.
Good
luck in the future game, guys. Thank you.